How would you like a shortcut that would make all of your stories more impactful and influential? If so, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Michael Davis, and in our last video, you discovered that most stories don't fail because people aren't capable of being good storytellers. The majority of presenters fail because they overload their stories with too many details, thinking that more context creates greater impact. The reality is, and research proves this, that the human brain craves a narrative that follows a natural rhythm of engagement, conflict, and resolution. What if you had a simple framework that enabled you to create stories that create instant connection? Well, that's exactly what the Storytelling Abs framework does. It's a shortcut to ensure that your listeners stay engaged from your first sentence to your last words. Traditional storytelling follows the journey of a main character in search of a goal. In pursuit of that goal, this individual faces obstacles. They can't overcome these obstacles on their own, so they need advice from a sage, a wise person. We often joke that it's the Yoda or Obi-Wan if you're a Star Wars fan. This is a person who provides new wisdom and insight to help the main character overcome the challenge to accomplish the goal, which this person eventually does. And from that experience, they have new wisdom, which they share with others. That's the traditional story arc. It goes back 4,000 years into our earliest writings, stories, poems, songs, and it's in the modern day, it's movies, TV shows, TikTok videos, and our most popular songs. They all follow this arc. We boil that down to an aspiration, a conflict, and a resolution. Now, what are storytelling abs? Well, first of all, they're not these. It's not crunches, nor is it planks. The letters ABS stand for and, but, and so. And, but, so. So let's break this down. The word and represents the setup of your story. This is the aspiration. This is where we introduce three key components: a main character who has a goal and also has a motivation to accomplish that goal. The reason we represent this with the word and is that ideally the each part of the story is separated by the word and. I've got a character and this person has this goal. And this is the reason this person wants to accomplish it. Now, the and can be implied. We can overuse and where it sounds like a long run-on sentence. We don't want to do that. We need to give the listener just enough detail where they want to hear more. This leads us to the be or the but part of the story. The word but is the most important word in storytelling. I know in everyday language, it can discount everything you've said before. So in personal communication, that can be a problem. However, in storytelling, it's a critical word because it introduces conflict. You've set up the story, but then something else happens, which pushes this main character into a conflict. The first part of be or but is the obstacle. Now they have a new challenge to overcome in order to accomplish the goal. The best stories show the struggle of the character. This individual is trying to overcome the problem, can't do it on their own, and they hit a low point where they feel like all is lost. I can't solve this. I'm never going to accomplish my goal. This is made even more strong or more intense by having stakes. If the main character has something important to lose, if the goal is not accomplished, you've got total emotional buy-in in this part of the story. This leads us to the S or the so part of the story. This is where the story is resolved. But it's not resolution alone that makes a story memorable and meaningful for the audience. The so part of your narrative does show the resolution. The main character overcomes the problem and accomplishes the goal, and the stakes that we represented or presented in the last portion are now avoided. It's not going to cost them anything they've now had to gain. But that's not all. What we also want to see is how the main character transforms. How has this journey changed this person from the beginning of the story? And then the last part is the message. What is the takeaway for the listener? Every meaningful story should have a takeaway that the listener can say, oh, that can help me too. Let's take a look at one of my stories that employs this AB structure. It's the spring of 2008, the heart of the Great Recession. I'm a financial planner, and I've been given the task of presenting retirement planning workshops to attract new clients. During that time, it was difficult for financial companies to get new business coming through the door. So there's a lot at stake. which is why I'm standing in front of 49 professional businesswomen in a medium-sized hotel banquet room. I get into my start my financial presentation, and not 5 minutes in, at the back of the room, I see this. Michael, I have a question. Sure, Leslie, how can I help? What's your deal? Excuse me, what's my deal? What do you mean? Michael, we have people come in and talk to this group every quarter, and it's always the same thing. You tell us how great you are, how wonderful your company is, and at the end, there's this sales pitch. And by the way, we can't read your slides with printing this big. What's your deal? What are you here to sell us? I look around the room and I see 49 women who 1 minute earlier were enjoying their after dinner coffee, cake, and conversation. And they're all now sitting like, yeah, what is your deal? Have you ever had a moment when your brain went completely empty? I mean, it's so empty in there that you can hear air bouncing around and hitting the inside of your skull. It's that bad. That's me in that moment. I can't think of anything. Her question was so aggressive, it caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say. And yet the women are still sitting there. Well, we're waiting. And that's when my boss, Tom, who was sitting near the front of the room, came up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Tell them about your mom's business." Might as well. I got nothing to lose. I told them about an experience my mother had 20 years earlier when she was trying to start her own company and she couldn't get any money. She couldn't get a loan, couldn't get a bank loan, credit card, home equity loan, nothing. And I didn't understand this. So we're sitting at lunch one day and I said, "Mom, why can't you get money? You are so good with your accounts. You pay all your bills on time. You don't carry any debt. You took care of the books for you and dad when you had the business. I don't get it." She said, "Honey, you're right about all that. I'm great with money. But here's the problem. When your father and I divorced, he did leave me the house and the car, but he took the most important financial asset, the financial identity in history. Everything was in his name, the credit cards, the cars, the business loan, all of it was in his name, even though I took care of the money." We talked for the longest time, and I just kept thinking, this is not right. Why did she do all the work, but he got the credit? Well, this is the 1980s. I didn't understand how the system worked. It was definitely in favor of men. When we got done with that lunch, she looked at me and said something I will never forget. "Michael, this whole experience has made me feel like I don't even exist." I look at the 49 women in front of me and say, "I'm not going to lie to you. We'd love to get new business from this meeting. But more importantly for me is I never want to see another woman look or feel the way my mom did that day." Long silence. And then I look back at Leslie, who started this entire conversation. She stands up and she says, "Michael, that's all I needed to hear. Carry on." And the room erupts in laughter. And I'm thinking, what just happened? You hated me 3 minutes ago and now you love me? Well, I can't tell you what happened the rest of that night. It was really off the cuff. But I do know that my boss, Tom, played a critical role in this entire experience because it was he who suggested I tell my mom's story. And when I asked him later, he said, "I don't know. It was just a gut level feel." But Tom's a smart guy. And what he and I decided to do is do a deep dive into storytelling. And that was 2008. And I haven't stopped studying this topic since. And the most important insight that I picked up along the way was that human beings are not wired to absorb data, statistics, and numbers. In fact, our brains will create a narrative, a story to make sense of those numbers and data if we don't provide that story for them. And the lesson I learned was that the most impactful communication tool we have is stories. If you want to increase your influence and sell more, tell more stories. Let's do a quick recap. What is the setup of this story? You've got a relatable main character. That's me in this case. I'm a financial planner. You don't have to be a financial planner to relate to this, do you? Number two, I've got a clear goal, get more clients. Number three, what is the motivation? The financial industry is hurting. It's the middle of the Great Recession, economic meltdown. We need more clients, which means more income. There are other two key elements to this. I also set up the setting. Medium-sized hotel ballroom, 49 women sitting in the room. Could you see that? Did your mental movie maker kick in and start to fill in some of the blanks? Let's get into the conflict. What is the but moment? What's your deal? That's when she throws me off balance. I'm not expecting the question and I don't know how to handle it. The immediate obstacle is answer her question, or I'm going to jump to the stakes. What's at stake? I'm going to lose their attention. We're not going to get any clients from this. Now, how is the tension increased in this? There's not a specific deadline, but I only have a few seconds. They're there to pick up new information, and if they think it's a sales pitch, they're checking out on me. I mean, they're already sitting here like this. That's a red flag moment. It's like, you better turn this around right now. So the tension increases very quickly in this. You don't always need a stated deadline. It's obvious from how the dialogue is unfolding and the narrative is moving forward. Something's got to happen fast. The resolution to the story is, it actually starts when Tom whispers, tell him about your mom. I tell the story, we get lucky that night. We had no idea. We were just trying to salvage this, what appeared to be a disaster. We got 3 times what we normally get as far as number of people signing up to talk to us individually after these events. So that was the surface resolution. But the transformation came when we decided to be intentional about storytelling. Instead of getting lucky, we wanted to make sure we strategically used them in all of our presentations, and it consistently paid off for us. We were always in the 65 to 75% range as far as signups after these meetings. Tremendously helped our business. But the takeaway for us was the knowledge that statistics, data, information, people don't want that. You can get that on your phones faster than we can give it. What they want is narrative, stories that make sense of all of this information coming at them. If you want to have an impact on people, tell them stories, or else they'll make up stories to fill in all those blanks. And typically that's not the narrative you want them telling themselves. If you want to sell more of your product, service, or ideas, tell more stories. So that's the wrap up. That's a traditional story in 5 minutes that can change people's perspective on what it is you offer. If you're in sales, leadership, selling, speaking, mastering storytelling isn't optional. It's the fastest way to build trust and influence with others. The ABS framework takes the guesswork out of storytelling so you can focus on delivering with impact. Now, the best part of this is that you don't have to be a natural-born storyteller. You just need the right framework. And that's why I'm launching my new high-impact storytelling apps course, so you can immediately apply this storytelling shortcut and start seeing results in your business or sales presentations. Now, in the next video, you'll discover exactly how you can start using storytelling apps in your own presentations. But before we get there, I have a quick favor to ask. Tell me where you struggle the most with storytelling. Your input will help shape the next phase of this course. If this ABS framework already makes sense to you, drop a comment and let me know.